The Vineland Research and Innovation Center held an information session to inform the public about their greenhouse breeding program.
So our breeding program is all about developing a tomato that's adapted to the climate of southern Ontario. So tomatoes that are able to withstand the heat a little bit better than what they're growing currently, and yet also reach those high yields that growers require. Another real big focus of our program is incorporating flavor into the genetics. So when we first worked with the Ontario Greenhouse Vegetable Growers, OGVG, and spoke to them about what they were looking for in a breeding program, for them it was of course about yield, but it was also about flavor, because they want to ensure that the varieties that their members are producing and selling are preferred by consumers. So that's been a very, very big focus of what we've been doing here.
The Vineland Research and Innovation Center began the greenhouse breeding program 5 years ago.
This year actually is the first year that we are trialing our best hybrid varieties with growers out in Leamington. So we have hopefully the people who will be growing these varieties for Ontario consumers, they're testing them now, seeing how they do in their greenhouse. And so they're going to be helping us for the next couple of years identify those lines that do best for them and therefore, best for consumers.
A number of years ago, our growers identified the need to develop an Ontario-specific tomato. It was really important that this tomato not only meet the needs of our growers in terms of productive capacity, but also met the tastes of Ontario consumers. So that's why we decided to partner with Vineland Research and Innovation Center, specifically with regards to their breeding program and their sensory panel work. We represent all growers, packers, and marketers of greenhouse tomatoes, peppers, and cucumbers across the province. We have approximately 200 members, and they represent about 3,000 acres.
An important part of the process is determining what flavor characteristics the public wants in a tomato.
I'm involved with understanding that end market. So what it is that people are looking for in the finished tomato variety on sort of the flavor side of things. So trying to understand, what is sort of the taste profile, the sweetness, the acidity, how it has to taste, the texture, all of those pieces. Sort of understanding it from both the, the basic kind of flavor of the tomato itself, but then also how we make that tomato that we think is more flavorful, the consumer thinks is more flavorful, how to position that on the market.
For consumers, buying local has become an important factor when purchasing.
Definitely a strong kind of segment of the population that are trying to understand where their food comes from, how it's grown, where it's grown. And so they do look for those things like product of Ontario, product of Canada. So we can really, kind of meet that objective and understanding that. But the other thing we know too is we're developing tomatoes to be growing in our climate. So that benefits the consumer from that local perspective, but also your growing conditions impact the flavor. So by developing tomatoes in our growing region that are going to meet the yield and they're going to meet the, the disease pressures and everything that we need to make a good quality tomato, and then also have flavor on top of it, gives the consumers the added bonus of both being able to have the flavor they're looking for and a local product.
In Niagara, you're watching The Source.